Hey everyone, this is the Flower Bouquet set from LEGO's new Botanical Collection. Now, before I get into dissecting this as a LEGO set and talking about part counts and piece choices and building techniques and the individual specimens that are depicted here, I want you to just step back, get me out of the frame, and just look at the set. Just look at it. The whole thing. All of it together as an entire single viewing experience. Take in the beauty, the serenity, the colors, all of it, right? It all goes together. It all works together to do something for you. Maybe it won't hit everyone in the same way, but I think this is a valuable little exercise before we get caught up in little details that may not mean as much. Now let's get caught up in some little details that I think mean a lot, because what if I were to tell you that all of this, the totality of the viewing experience that you're seeing here, is not actually what you get in the set. As a matter of fact, most of the mass of what I have right here is not stuff that you get in the set at all, because the vase doesn't come with it, and the 500 or so trans light blue studs that I've got down there did not come with the set either. The set is actually, get over there, that. Now, granted, some of you watching this video right now have a lot of vases just all around your house. You've got them in all different shapes and sizes and form factors. You are ready for anyone to bring over some loose flowers, and you will have them on display in no time. Some of you have some good ballast media to hold the flowers in place. You've got bags and bags of hundreds, if not thousands, of stud pieces in one color, like maybe a trans light blue or just trans clear, or maybe 1x1 plates, or you've got silica gel, or you've got nice coarse polished sand, seaside sand, or you've got some nice fine polished river rock, or at least some perlite or something, to make it all work. But not everybody does. So I just feel that it's important to mention that, because most of us LEGO fans are used to getting a box of LEGO stuff, building it, and being able to create what's shown on the box, right? Should be able to make that with the stuff that's inside of here. But you can't. You really can't. Now, legally, yeah, they're covered. They say in the tiny fine print down here, vase or vases not included. That's cool and all. But still, you don't get this, okay? That picture does not show a vase. But there is no way to turn this into this without adding a bunch of stuff of your own. I think that's a pretty important point. It's very different from what we're used to. All right, let's talk about the fun stuff. Let's get into actually dissecting the individual builds, talking about the individual specimens here, parts, all that kind of stuff. I'm going to start with these because they are the roses. Now, the designer could have chosen red or even like a magenta, a pink or something for roses, for the first roses for the Botanical Collection. They are coming out with red ones. They will come out with more different colors in the future with different builds, I'm sure. But I totally admire this brave choice to go with something unusual, very unusual. This is the light nougat color, or the light skin flesh tone used on licensed minifigures, and the build here is pretty simple. This went together pretty quickly, and it's effective. I like it. I like it from a LEGO perspective with the parts usage. These are new colors for these fender and roof pieces. I like it just visually from a distance. I think it works out pretty well. In terms of parts, you're going to see a number of parts in colors you may not have seen before, or you may only see relatively rarely. These are some Technic medium-sized steering wheels, and those are used on a number of the flowers to give a bunch of different angles at which to attach. In dark green, these Technic connectors that are angled in dark green there, the number 3s, these extra long connectors in dark green. And the nice thing here is that there's no center axle inside of this, so you can change out the size. You can customize the sizes to create, different heights to really fine tune your own arrangement. This is a pteranodon wing, right? Good choice for a wing. These are little longhorn steer horns in brown. I think we've gotten those in brown a number of times before, but still it's cool. And then the hollow studs in dark green. Like, this is nice stuff. One of these is done with 2 of the bends, so you can spread those among others. The other 2 are done with no bend, so these just have completely straight stems. Change things out, very easy to do with Lego, so that's pretty cool. 3 of those are included in total. 2 of them have the bends, 1 of them is straight. I forgot about that. They change from type to type. Next, let's look at these. These are simply referred to as daisies, and more specifically, they are what are commonly called English daisies, like just very basic ones, not the most showy types of daisies. As an American, usually when I think of daisy, I think of just an individual flower that's much larger and has much larger outer petals. But I think these are fine looking. They almost look like chamomile. Not the most accurate depiction here. Should be round like a daisy. It's not quite, but I think it still adds a nice bit of light colored fill to everything. There's another thing that's not accurate here. In real life, these would have individual long stems, so each one would have its own long stem. Here they put 3 together. I'm fine with that. I have no problem with that. These are unique to this set, or unique to this line. Lego's longest Technic axles recolored to sand green. Awesome. So we get 2 sets of daisies, 3 flowers per. Now next, let's look at this big one. Actually, I'm going to get the straight one. So one of these comes to us straight. One of them comes with 2 bends, so you can split those bends between them once again and have them just a little bit off to the side. These are snapdragons. At least they're supposed to be. From any kind of distance, they are obviously snapdragons. So this is fundamentally a success as a design, if you ask me. However, you get up closer, most snapdragons do not have the appearance, the individual flowers do not have the appearance of radial symmetry like these do. There are some varieties that get close to that, but snapdragons get their name from the most common shape of their flowers, which goes into not only the shape, but what you do with them. Typically, you have like a large lobe at the top, large lobe at the bottom. You squeeze the flowers from the side, and those 2 lobes separate, and then you let go, and they come together. It looks like the snapping jaws of a dragon. Snapdragons. The more you know. But overall, I think this is done. My favorite thing here is the use of the cool green, or the bright spring green color up here for these, the young bud at the top. Very, very nice. And then down here we get some of these character and creature building large claw pieces. The large action figure, large claw pieces in sand green. More nice pieces. So here's the straight one. Here's the bent one. Might be bent a little bit too much. Probably want to take one of those and put it on the other. This probably looks the least like what you would expect given what it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be a sprig of lavender, and typically sprigs of lavender are just, just tall columns of purple. This is not quite that. I looked around for different varieties. Most flowers have different varieties, and they can also be cultivated differently. You get different cultivars, and different amounts of different types of minerals will give you different results sometimes. This to me looks like a little clump of dried lavender. That's what it looks like. I think that's the closest match. You get some lavender that has grown relatively tall, not some shorter clumping types, and then just dry it quickly. Retains a little bit of the color, gets a little more pale, and then you see the leaf parts. These are done in pearl gold, which is interesting. I think it works out fine. The overall appearance of this from any kind of distance, I think, is very effective and makes for a useful bit of color and texture to put into a flower arrangement. So again, even if it is not entirely accurate, which kind of isn't. I mean, it almost looks more like an elderflower rosette that has grown, elderberry flower that has grown extra long instead of in a wide umbel. Not an umbel, whatever you call this. But yeah, I still think it looks pretty cool. Now this is referred to as an aster by Lego. That's cool. Aster is the family. Was it Asteraceae or something like that? The family that contains all the daisies. So just to say aster doesn't really say much. Technically, this is an aster too, but we're going by common names. I looked up what looks most like this, and if you're looking for it, search for purple China aster, where you don't see any of the disc flowers. You just see the ray flowers that have the biggest petals around the sides. It all covers up. This was tedious to put together. So tedious, and arranging these outer petals was not that fun, getting them to be kind of similar. But if you have a lot of time on your hands, this could actually be very cathartic. I just was trying to get the thing built to experience it, to kind of take it in, and then come do this review. So take my view of the complexity and the time with a grain of salt. But this looks great, though. This is probably the most accurate thing in this entire set by a long shot. Very, very well done. It's just on a really simple stem. Again, has a little bit of adjustability at the base, but overall, this is good. This is really good. The end result, the net result here is very good. Some more nice parts in there with those 8-sided octagonal pieces in the sand green. What else? I think I missed one. Oh yeah, another thing that's cool in sand green on the Snapdragon over here. That guy, forget the name of it in particular, but it has 4 bars extending from a 2x2 round plate. The bars come out and then turn up. Sand green color there. Again, very cool. This is local to me. California poppy. Curious. Would not have expected to see this in amongst the rest of these flowers here. It's definitely quite different from everything else in the set. These typically don't do so well in real arrangements because the petals are very, very, very delicate. They tend to fall off very easily. But this has a nice effect. It's a little bit simple, but I like it. I think it looks nice. I appreciate the consideration of how California poppy petals tend to flop outward and almost invert like that. So arranging them this way as opposed to having them curve in, I believe is correct. More correct than not. Yeah, this is not my favorite item in this set, but I think it's pretty good. And then lastly, there are some greens, which is pretty darn important. So there are 3 of these. They are identical in build, so I'll just show you one. Lots of sand green here. Again, I appreciate the audacity to use non-primary colors, to use different colors, to use subtle colors, to use interesting colors. Yeah, so this works out pretty well. It uses sand for the tip. It uses of the blade uses a sand green colored surfboard under there. I appreciate the use of the dark green down the center. Don't like the regular green colored hinge pieces. They just stand out like a sore thumb to me. I think black would work better. Just continue the black from here. Maybe if these parts don't both exist in dark green, then could have done them in like dark gray or something. Almost anything would have been better. I think just stands out a bit much, but that is a bit nitpicking. One thing that is important to point out here is that this does not like to stay like this. It likes to fall quickly and easily. So oftentimes you're going to see it like this in real life. I'm going to talk a little bit more about the physics of using this set momentarily, right after I talk about this last bit of greenery. A couple bushes in dark green. That's it. At the top of a stem, just to add a little bit of extra texture. And of course, these are, as has been the case for a year or more, these are plant pieces made from plants. So the plastic is derived from plants. I think it's sugar cane or sugar beet, one of the two. But ultimately, the plastic is exactly identical to the formula. It's chemically identical to the old formula. So there is no difference in quality, how long it'll last. It will not biodegrade. I've talked about this at length before. It's very clear. It's just plastic. It just happens to be made from a renewable source. That's just that. So about the physics of these things, it is significantly more difficult to arrange these than regular flowers or silk flowers or plastic flowers because they're so dang heavy. I mean, look at this. I'm just holding it down here. And so I'm gonna have it straight and then I'm just gonna let it go. It bends. There's so much weight and all that weight is up top. Makes it rather frustrating to get these to go where you want them to go. Ultimately, I think that hobbyists are going to want to figure out a nice solution to put at the base of these stems, maybe even in a couple of places, to create physical anchors so that whatever media that you place these into a vase, because you're not going to want to just stick these into a bottle or a vase or something and just let them go unless it has a really, really narrow neck, preferably a long one that's really going to hold them in place. Otherwise, they're just going to go all over the place, and the base of the stem is always going to want to go to the outermost point that it can find opposite where the flower is. It's frustrating. If you get this, you'll learn that very quickly when you add your own vase from your own massive collection of vases that you have around the house. I recommend either going with something with a relatively narrow neck, relatively long neck, or using a medium that is a little bit difficult to get these in. Something slightly abrasive, and slightly heavy as well. So the pebbles will work better than, say, silica gel. Unless you run your silica gel relatively dry, you don't have it actually in water where, the water level in it is very low. So the pieces have a little bit of adhesiveness between them, and that could work out. Foam, not such a good idea because these have flat and also open, large bases. So trying to stick this into florist's foam, I don't know the exact name of it. It's just not the greatest idea. These can go into that type of material. That would work out just fine, but these wouldn't. But yes, there are definitely challenges, real world challenges to using these that you may not expect, and that will make it even more difficult to replicate what you see on the box. Surprisingly, and somewhat disappointingly, the spare parts are very few. I was hoping to get a bunch of extras of some cool looking pieces, but we just get a handful, and I don't think this was supposed to be a spare. I think that's just a mistake. I did use the correct number of parts, but probably for most people, it'll look like that. I paid $50 for this set, and I don't feel too bad about that. The price to part ratio looks very nice, but this does come with a fair number of 1x1 and repeated pieces, so price to part ratio, as usual, is not everything. However, the build experience for this took well over an hour and a half, almost an hour and 3/4. I was not rushing by any means, but just generally speaking, that's a pretty good amount of time to have to spend to put together something that cost $50 as far as Lego stuff goes. So I'm pretty satisfied with that. Honestly, for the amount of stuff here, considering that a lot of the mass here is just in stem, I kind of feel like I wish this was a little bit cheaper than it is, but it's within the range. Like if it was 40, I wouldn't say another word. I wouldn't say a single other word about price. But 50 as it is, I kind of get it. I love plants. I like Lego a lot. I love the Botanical Collection that they've come out with. I look forward to getting every single set from that collection. Maybe eventually doing some additional custom life-sized plant and flower stuff for my own displays. Overall, I think this is pretty nice. Honestly, it's not as nice as I expected, as nice as I hoped. Each individual flower, each individual thing on a stem is good enough. I think the daisies are the weakest things here. But the mechanics, again, of actually arranging these is an issue. And it's just a different challenge. It's not nearly as easy as dealing with regular flowers or silk flowers or whatever. I do appreciate the ease of being able to change lengths, although you are limited to some extent with these long ones. But that's not bad. It's not a bad minimum length there, to be honest. That is, what, about 10 inches in total of stem. So that's, yeah, I think that's completely reasonable. If you want to do something shorter than that as your minimum, you can add your own pieces. But yeah, overall, the experience here is positive. It just doesn't match what is shown on the box at all. Even if you have just a regular bottle or something, you're probably not going to be able to duplicate what you see on the box. You need some good media to hold these things together. You need a lot of patience to get things set up just right. And then you're going to have to deal with the fact that as soon as you start moving it, because there's so much inertia in each of these flower heads, especially the bigger ones, it will start to undo itself without further modifications, adding your own pieces, like I mentioned, of figuring out something to do down here to create more of a physical anchor to stop that from happening. Just wanted to be clear about stuff and share all of my thoughts and my own experiences with these. Hope that you've enjoyed this. Check out the pure build in real time if you want to see the actual full build experience, or if you just want to see how the builds went together relatively quickly, without spending an hour and a half, almost an hour and 45 minutes watching that, then just check out the speed build, and that should take you through everything and get you past some of the repeated stuff relatively quickly. I will continue to bring you more videos and talk to you again soon. Thanks for watching.